sounds an awful lot like relationship building. That's what I boil everything down to in marketing. It's all about building relationships.
Well, the little realm of like Comicsgate, like I jumped into that day one because it was a consumer movement and it hadn't been too much turned into a political thing yet. Like obviously a lot of the people in it were right leaning, but
well, I did notice that you've been very, very coy about using that word even in the show. It's come up as a consumer revolt a few times, but I get what you're talking about.
yeah. Well, well, some people act like it's something weird or scary, and it's not. It's just a bunch of disgruntled people that used to love buying comics that now hate comics. Mainstream books because they're awful. But they want to love them. That's the catch. They want to love them. They're not being allowed to. But even in that little realm, it took me, I'd say, about 5 or 6 years of getting to know everyone in it. Some of them I already knew just from the comic book world, like conventions, and you meet people over time when you're doing indie gigs and working on comics. So, like, some people I already knew, some I was getting to know. And over time, it took me probably about 4 to 6 years to really build that into a big network where I know there's guys with huge platforms I can go to anytime if I really need them, and they're not going to say no to me.
Like I need to do my press release and get this out as quickly as possible, as many people as I can. Can you help?
And they know I don't have time to do YouTube full time like they do. Like, I'm so bogged down with work, I can't commit to anything else that would be to my own detriment. Like, I can't focus on comics, running this business, getting the products made, taking care of my kids, and paying my bills, and doing the paid work I have to do that. And make and make good YouTube videos.
But you love it, right?
Like, something's got to give in there. So, luckily, those guys like me enough to where we're now friends in a lot of ways, to where it's easier for me to go to them and say, hey, brother, I never asked you for anything. I mean, just hook me up, help me out. If you need something that's within my capability, I will reciprocate. And a lot of times you don't even have to go that far. You just do it with your buddies. But that helps too. That's one of the big things. But at the same time, I don't want people to think it's all about YouTube, because if your work ain't good, if you're not making quality books, or if your writing is subpar, if you're a writer or your artwork looks like shit, you can't get upset when people are harder to network with. But that's because your product's somewhat a bit of a representation of yourself. And if the product looks dumpy and bad, even if, let's say, parts of it are good, they can't read your mind. They don't know that. So it's a patience game. It's getting to know people, going to events they're going to be at, meeting them and being polite and giving them some stuff too, so they remember you. It's a bunch of little things that add up,
Well, it's you were saying that one of the things I think that is more important to realize now, because everything has been democratized so much, people that probably they haven't reached that point where they're really skilled yet, have the ability to go and compete in the same field and don't get noticed, because the bottom line is they haven't done the work to get where they have to get to actually produce the quality of material that they want, and it looks less than in the eyes of the media, and they're not going to get the audience they want, but they still need to start. They still need to do their thing and understand who they are.
They still need to keep going. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing I can stress more than trying to be realistic with ourselves. As tough and frustrating as that can be at times. I mean, I would say at least once a month, maybe, I try to really look at myself and be like, am I the problem with this thing? Or is this thing the problem? And I need to, I try to really look at things and make sure it's not just me being an idiot or doing something wrong before I assume the worst of other things. It's kind of like,
did I immediately get shadow banned, or do I not know what the hell I'm doing this month?
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's like that thing where you'll hear techie guys say this, it's not the computer, it's the user. And I think sometimes that is the case, and that's hard to accept because, like, I'm not the most entertaining guy. I can get by on some streams and do okay and have good banter. But, like, there's also nights where I'm beat, dude. I ain't got an ounce of life left in me, and I'll still try to make a show or do something and be like, this audience is new to me, and they're all going to think I'm just quiet, stupid, and I got nothing to say. But it's just because I'm fighting to get through this. So it's
Well, I have the distinguished position of having actually fallen asleep on a podcast before. Just kind of edged my way out of frame and let everybody else talk. Kept the camera off me.
yeah. Well, dude, it's just how it is. Like, if you want to do anything in life that you care about, it's going to be a grind. And even if you get the success you want, now the new grind is maintaining that and then moving it up if that's your desire. So it's difficult because even if you're making a lot of money, it doesn't mean that money will stretch out into employees and everything else if you're trying to have long-term people to help ease the load. Like, you got to accept a lot of tough realities as you go on any creative endeavor. Like, if I can outsource some work, I do, but there's really not much I can short of like the literal printing. And like, I don't have the money yet to afford the payrolls for people to do this stuff for me.
Well, and that's why one of the things I'm excited about is like there's more people like me, or I'm not a comic book creator. I fancy myself a writer sometimes, but I'm not really a writer. But I love what other people are doing, and I have my skill set in marketing, and I'm looking to help as many people as I can realize, take some of the burden off of what they're doing to allow them the time to do what they're really good at and not have to worry about the other stuff. That ecosystem and like the way it used to be there, the big industrial scale isn't there yet. But the more people develop each different part of that cottage industry in this new ecosystem, is just going to mean more people are able to go out and thrive without having to take on the burden of being a comic book printer at the same time as you're the comic book creator, things like that. And I 10 years from now, I have all faith that this is going to be a thriving system as much as it can, given, broader economic situations, we'll just say.
Well, I think part of it too is like you're seeing this weird mix right now of people that are like, crowdfunding shouldn't be the way to go long term. And then you'll see other people that are like, I don't know, I'm fine with just crowdfunding long term. Like, what's the issue? Why should I try to do it other ways? And it's like, once you start looking at the tax benefits and things like that of it, you start to understand that this is why people just want to solely stick with crowdfunding. Because if you're like I've got a website being built right now. It's nearly done. It'll have a store and all that stuff on it where we can resell our products. I have to pay sales tax on everything that sells over there. Money I get from Indiegogo is like a donation. It's like capital that someone's just giving you to use. There's no sales tax on it because you're not selling people individual units. You're selling them an idea and they're giving you money and you're promising a gift. And that's how the law looks at it. So you see the benefit of it because yes, if you're paying yourself, you've got to pay taxes on your personal pay still, obviously. But your business, like I have an S corp. The S corps don't pay federal tax anyways. It's just how they're set up. So that's not really a worry. I don't ever have to fuss with federal. I have to file it, but I don't, there's never any money, no matter how much I make going to them. But on the state level and the local level, you can still get a lot of money eaten up from you. If you're talking, I sold units and made money on them, where if people are just giving you capital and you're giving them a gift.
Now you need to be a tax expert too, bro.
Yeah, you got, dude. I've been doing my own business taxes for years now. It's terrible and I hate it, and it makes me miserable for like a fucking week straight. But you learn a lot of things along the way of why people do things. Like, I didn't even know that initially. I was reporting our first two Indiegogo runs as like, money made, and paying in tons of extra that I didn't need to pay, that wasn't necessary. And I guess I could go back if I really wanted to be nitpicky and try to like amend these old ones. Yeah, but like who wants to do all that shit? Like it's one of those things where the reason people want success and they want money, it's not just for let's say frivolous things we want in our life or petty things that we just want the money to buy. A lot of it's because it just offers you a certain level of convenience because other people can now do things for you that are terrible pain in the ass, and these people are specialists and that's what they do for a job, so they're more than happy to take your money to do it. And it allows you a little more freedom and less weight on a person's shoulders in their daily lives. So, like, I get the crowdfunding model. I totally understand why people do it. I'm trying to find like a middle ground where I can still resell stuff, but still have some capital coming in from the crowdfund side of it, where it's like we have you have a little extra wiggle room. Maybe it's not millions of dollars of wiggle room, but I mean thousands is still pretty nice. You know, it's still to know you can make a $5,000 error and you'll survive it. You know, is a nice feeling to have. You don't want it to happen, but it's like, hey, at least I know we won't, like, you know, we'll still be able to get our books printed if there's some huge screw up or something terrible happens, you know. So,